All right, so hey everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I see as an opening for the Ron Paul campaign, and that is President Obama talking about. Well, it says here recent reports reveal that President Obama is considering cuts on Social Security and Medicare as bargaining pieces in negotiations to reach an agreement with Republicans on raising the country's debt ceiling. Now, the reason I'm saying this is an opening is because of what it reveals. And it reveals how a lot of people don't like or are afraid of Ron Paul because they're afraid he will end, destroy, or they simply will not get their Social Security checks. But in this current situation, what Ron Paul would advocate for is bringing our troops home to save money there, along with some other, obviously, other things, as well as ending departments, before even getting into the whole welfare state. And President Obama is more apt to cut Social Security than he is bring our troops home from around the world. In fact, he's out there starting more wars. And if you consider what was done down in Mexico with the gun running, there are, from what I read in a report today, what was it? They said, the United States government, the ATF, this administration, enacted a policy of running guns through Mexico, 30,000 weapons. And I don't know, as I was looking at it's almost like we were trying to start a war. We were actually trying to start or incite a war down in Mexico. And it's amazing to me. And so here we have someone who's a Democrat who's supposed to support like the poor people and give them their little welfare fucking checks. And he's wanting to cut that really before military. And so Ron Paul, this is something he can really run on. He needs to pound away at it and say, this president is willing to sacrifice our elderly so that we can have these wars of aggression, these wars of intervention, which do not serve anyone within our borders. These wars do not serve the American people, especially the war in Libya, now the war in Iraq. There was no threat. Afghanistan, maybe some threat, initially, but now there's not. So the whole thing's out of control. But you position it differently where all of a sudden Ron Paul says, I've always advocated for bringing our troops home first, having a non-interventionist foreign policy, keeping taxes low first, and then working on the entitlement system, winding it down, setting up to where people who are dependent upon it aren't going to be left out in the cold to fend for themselves overnight. He doesn't believe in that. And so it's an interesting situation because it's a situation that the Ron Paul campaign can take advantage of. They can now go after this and position them as not only the anti-war candidate, but the candidate who's going to save your Social Security before he goes after. If he's going to go after anything, he's going to go after warfare, the interventionist state, bring the military home, and that's going to save a lot of money. So it's an interesting situation. Like, usually I always think, oh, well, a Democrat's going to be for, welfare. But here we have a situation where Obama is apparently more willing to make cuts in Social Security than he is the warfare state. What's that tell you? The GOP largely, obviously, is more willing, at least some in the GOP, not all. There's a split right now. There's a libertarian split. So it's like the only truly anti-war, or really the only anti-war movement in the country at this point is now libertarians. Because even the far left progressives, sometimes they'll support the war in Libya. Oh, well, we need to do something. He was going to slaughter his people. So apparently now if you say something, that means you've done something. You don't have to murder someone. You just have to say, I could kill you. You've done it, and they can now kill you. So, yeah, it's preemptive murder, preemptive war. This is the rabbit hole we've gone down. But I still can't help but think how amazing this is. I don't know that if there's any sort of cuts they're talking about taking on in the military. I haven't heard anything about that. And as Rand Paul has said numerous times, we've got to cut both. But we don't have to cut welfare yet. We could cut warfare first. What's wrong with that? It's the most dangerous. It's the most useless. At least with the welfare, you're getting some use out of it. You're helping people. With the warfare state, it's not helping us. It doesn't serve our interests at all.